up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G, the Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Here we are. Thank you very much for joining me for another Big Johnny G's How To Play. And this time, it's for Cthulhu. Hasta la Vista, Cthulhu, by Twilight Creations. This is a game, part of their series, or drawn from their series of the Zombies game, and humans, and Martians. So it takes from that and gives a Cthulian twist on this semi-cooperative, survival, competitive game. Now the object of this is you have to close down 3 of the 5 ritual sites. And the cultists have to sacrifice 3 players, 3 investigators out of the 5 sites in order to summon Hastor, the King in Yellow, into existence, ushering him into the world and the end and destruction of everything. So, now that you know the objective of the game, why don't we get down to talking about it and the setup and how to play and how to win.
Sorry to disappoint you. Huh? You triggered my trap card.
August 20th is H.P. Lovecraft's birthday, and this date is used to determine who the dealer of the game is. So the player whose birthday is closest to August 20th will be the dealer. Now the dealer has a few jobs during setup. First thing he or she is going to have to do is pull a couple of tiles out from the stack. They're going to remove the church and the 4-way intersection. That player is then going to place the church somewhere in the middle of the table, with the 4-way intersection connected directly to it. No cultists, bayakis, or anything else are going to be placed at this time, except for the players will put their pawns, their characters, their miniatures, in the starting area in the church. The dealer is then going to shuffle all of the map tiles, and that includes the ritual tiles, so it doesn't matter where in the stack they are. So they're all going to be shuffled together and turned into a stack that's going to be left on the table, easily for anyone to get to. The event deck is then going to be shuffled by the dealer, who is going to deal out 3 cards to each of the players. And then that too is going to be put in a convenient spot somewhere on the table where everyone should be able to reach and grab it. The dealer is then going to make sure that each of the players has 3 lives, 3 bullets, and 5 sanity. And that's really how simple the setup is. See, from here the game is going to actually start playing. And it's broken into a series of rounds that are going to start and finish the game. And each round is going to have a player's turn that takes place within it. So we're going to examine the rounds and turns right now. From the deck of map tiles, the player is going to draw one and place it down on the table, connecting to an already existing tile. Now, while placing the tile, you can switch it and turn it and spin it however you want, as long as it lines up correctly with an existing tile. And that includes making sure that, like, the street that you're putting the tile down on doesn't connect to the side of a building or a brick wall. There has to be a connection between the 2 tiles. Now, if you do happen to draw a tile that can't be placed, just discard it and draw another one. Now, dirt roads can connect to paved roads, though. Keep that in mind. Yes, they can connect. If you get to a point in the game where there are literally no map tiles left to draw from, then just ignore this stage of the game and continue. It's as simple as that. There's nothing to draw, so that means the city is completely laid out at this point. Now, whenever a new tile is placed, enemies will be placed on that tile. the tile is either going to be a ritual site, a named building, or not a ritual site or a named building tile. And each of these are a little bit different. If this does happen to be a ritual site, then each of the squares inside this tile, except one, will have a cultist placed in it. That last tile, you're going to place a Bayaki in it. And these are all going to have to be dealt with. If this happens to be a named building, then each of the squares that are inside the building, you will place a cultist in. Now, that's not all. Each of these separate spaces, these tiles inside these named buildings, are also going to have either a bullet token or a life token in it for you to grab. It's your choice which one you put down. Now, if the tile isn't a named building or a ritual tile, you're going to put one Bayaki in the center square of that tile. The second and third step both have to do with combat. Now, you're always going to have combat with the Bayaki before you have one with the cultist. Now, each separate fight that you have with the Bayaki, you're going to have to begin that combat by making a sanity check. You only have to do this when you are first fighting any one particular Bayaki. Not every time you're about to roll a combat roll against the same one. This is just every time you meet a new Bayaki, you're going to have to make a sanity check. This is done with a simple roll of the d6. If you roll a 1 or a 2, you're going to lose a point of sanity. For combat, you're going to roll the 6-sided die. If you get a 5 or a 6, that counts as a kill on the Bayaki, and you're going to get 2 relic cards. However, anything else you roll lower than that is going to be a failure. Now, you can snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat by spending life points and or bullet points to make up the difference. So if you rolled a 3, you could spend 2 points worth of health or bullets. Both points in health, both points in bullets, or 1 in 1. That's up to you. But this allows you to sort of mitigate the dice roll a little bit, have a little bit more control over what's going on, but at a cost. Now, once combat is started, you can never voluntarily just end combat, just up and leave. Combat is going to continue until the Bayaki or you are dead. That's it. Now, the cultist, as you can imagine, is a little bit easier than an interdimensional demonic entity, elder being creature would be. You're still going to roll a 6-sided die, but in this case, it is a 4, 5, or 6 that will score a hit and take out the cultist. Once again, if you score lower than that, you're going to have the chance to make the difference up. Unlike the Bayaki, which you're going to get 2 relic cards from, with the cultist, you're just going to get the 1. And once again, you can't leave combat. You can't just voluntarily end it. It will go on until either you or the cultist are finished. Now, I know I've mentioned players being defeated now twice already, and what that means is you're defeated. That's it. But you're not out of the game. You will be playing a new character, a new investigator, at the start tile. And here you're going to collect 3 life tokens and 3 bullet tokens. However, your sanity is going to be 1 less each time you regen. So it's going to go down by 1 point with each life that you've already previously lost. Now, you do get to keep half rounded down, your choice. You do get to keep that many relics from the previous character you had before he expired. So you're going to get a little bit of a sort of legacy, so to speak. And then from that point moving forward, you just play the game as usual. If you happen to expire again, start over from scratch again, 1 less sanity again. This is all cumulative, adding up, and just start off, and it'll keep going that way. So odds are you won't get eliminated from the game. Now, if you run out of sanity, you're going to end your turn. You're not going to be able to do anything. You will have to go through any combat that's been set up. But other than that, your turn is going to be ending right there. But that's not the end of it. Now, a player's starting sanity, if it ever drops below 1, then they are going to go permanently insane. And then, yes, they're going to be out of the game. The player's relics are discarded, and any ritual sites that he or she sanctified are removed from the game. That player then cannot win the game. Now, the fourth step is drawing back up to 3 cards, getting 3 cards back up into your hand. Now, you begin the game with 3 event cards that have been dealt out to you in your hand, and you get to draw a new one each turn. Now, keep in mind that you can never have more than 3 event cards at the end of your turn. And even if you do have your 3 allowed cards in your hand, remember that you're always allowed to discard an event card at the end of your turn. Discarding a card must always, though, you always got to make sure that is the last thing that you do. It will actually signify that you are willingly ending your turn. Everything is over. Now, the event cards in your hand, they can be played at any time. But remember that you can only play 1 event card during your turn, during your round, during your segment, from beginning until beginning of the next time comes around. You can only play the 1. The play area in front of you is considered your play area. So if you play something from your hand, a weapon, you place it down in front of you, that's not considered in your hand. It doesn't work against the count, or if something will affect the cards in your hand. If it's in your play area, it won't be the same as being in your hand. Now, whenever you use an item that's in the play area in front of you, that does not count as using a card, as spending a card from your hand and putting it into play, or having its effect work out. If it's in play, that doesn't count against using a card from your hand. Now, the 5th step here is movement, and you're going to do this by rolling the 6-sided die. You're also going to add your health to that roll. Your current, not your starting, but your current health will get added to that movement roll of the D6. Now, while moving through the tiles, you can't move diagonally. It's just orthogonally, up and down, left and right. It's not diagonal, but you can move through, and you can occupy another player's space. You don't have to move your full space. You can stop at any time. And if you move into an area with an enemy, then you're forced to stop because combat is going to begin. Now, however, remember that once combat is over, if you had any movement left, you can continue to use the rest of it. Now, if you move on to an unoccupied square that has a token on it, like a bullet token, a health token, you're going to automatically get that. If you move on to a space that's occupied, then after combat, you will be able to receive those. Now, with the exception of the ritual sites, each space can only contain a maximum of 1 cultist and 1 Bayaki. First, the cultist will move after the player, and then after the cultist, the Bayaki will get a roll. When rolling for cultist, roll a 6-sided die, and that number is how many cultists on the board are going to be able to move 2 spaces. Like the players, the cultists can't move diagonally, but they can move in any direction otherwise. The Bayaki move after the cultists, and each one of them is going to make a move. They will be able to move to any adjacent space to where they already are. If a cultist happens to be on the space with them, the cultist will take a ride, will literally move with the Bayaki to the new location. Now remember, there could only be a maximum of 1 cultist and 1 Bayaki on any space other than the ritual circles. Now, in order to start sanctifying these ritual sites, because remember you need to sanctify 3 out of 5 of them, first thing any player is going to have to do when you get to one of these sites is you're going to have to clear it. It's got to be empty of all enemies. Every cultist and the Bayaki that are on there, and any others that may move into the space, are going to have to be dealt with first. Now, after they're all dealt with, the player can begin to sanctify the ritual site. In order to do this, the player is going to have to discard 1 of each relic type of card. There's amulets, daggers, idols, space mead, and tomes. The player collects the ritual site and holds it in their playing area because it's going to be worth 12 victory points at the end of the game when you get to the scoring part. If a player is defeated on any of these ritual sites, then the ritual site is going to be flipped over to show that it's been activated by the cult. And remember, they only need to activate 3 in order to summon Hastur, the King in Yellow, and destroy everything. Now, the moment that the 3rd site has either been sanctified or has been activated, the game immediately will end. Now, to start with the scoring, you're going to check any relics that you are still holding on to, because these are going to start adding to your victory points. Now, for each type, you're going to double the number that you have and subtract 1 to determine the victory point reward for that type. So, for example, if you have 1 dagger, it's going to score you 1 victory point. It can't be less than 1. If you have 2 daggers, then it's going to score you 3 victory points, because that would be 4 minus 1. 3 daggers would score you 5 points. 6 minus 1. I think you get it from here. Now, each sanctified ritual site that you have is going to be worth 12 points. And just add those up, and the player that has the highest score is the overall winner of the game. Now, that's the whole of the rule. That's how the game plays out. There are some rule clarifications that I think were very helpful that the company gave, and I would like to go over them now. All discards are going to be placed face up, and anyone at any time may inspect discards. Any card in any discard pile, anyone can take a look at them. Now, no player during the course of the game is going to be allowed to have more than 5 life tokens at any one time. Now, that's unlike the bullet tokens. You can have as many of them as you're able to collect. Now, much like your life tokens, you're not going to be allowed to hoard, have more than 5 sanity tokens during the course of the game at any one time. Now, this also should be important to keep in mind that when you play event cards, remember that the church tile and ritual site tiles are not considered named buildings. They're not. Gotta keep that one in mind. As far as weapons that the players can have, you can never have more than 1 type, 1 copy of each specific weapon. Also remember that one player cannot attack another player without a card effect specifically allowing for that action. Yet you can't just go around willy-nilly knocking off the other players. You need an event card or something that will specifically tell you it's time. Let's do this. So there you go. There's how to play Cthulhu by Twilight Creations.